All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for, let me get my camera on here. Sorry, guys. Good morning. Welcome to our Reinventing Metro Phase 2 proposed service improvements open house meeting. Thank you for taking your time out of your day to be here and learn about some of these changes that we'll be making these are proposed changes for our December service change. These occur on December the 4th on a Sunday. Good. Next slide. All right, so there are several ways to give us your feedback. We definitely want to hear from you. These changes are still in the proposal stage, so we're presenting them to you and seeking feedback. You can send those to us via a written comment form. You can get to that from our website at www.go-metro.com. There's an online survey, and this will be, again, as I mentioned, these are proposed to take effect on December the 4th, which is a Sunday. And then all of the feedback, I've been asked to take a pause for a moment. There's an echo. All right, I think we're going to give this another shot. I apologize, we have a couple technical difficulties with the sound. Apparently there's an echo for some of the listeners. So I'm going to go ahead and continue. But as I was saying, all of the feedback that we receive for these proposed changes, as long as we receive that before 11:59 p.m. on August 25th, that will be part of the official record, and we'll use that for our decision-making purposes. So again, that's on our website, www.go-metro.com, and there's an online survey. All right, next slide, please. So my name is Matt Mormon. I am the Senior Manager of Service Planning and Scheduling here at SORTA. I'll be sort of kicking things off here, just sort of giving you a little bit of background, a little bit more information on SORTA and some of the projects we're working on. And then I'll turn it over to Mark Saman, who is our long-range planning manager, to go over more of the details for all of the individual routes and individual changes that we are considering. So part of the Reinventing Metro plan that we started last year, we kicked off last year in phase 1. This is the whole idea behind the entire Reinventing Metro plan. Is to do the things that you see here on the screen. So we want to expand the regional connectivity. We want to make sure people are getting places where they want and need to go. We're absolutely looking to drive economic development and improve the mobility choices for everyone in the region. And by doing all of those things, we'll of course attract new businesses and new employers. Those will give folks access to more jobs and higher paying jobs. And of course, improve the local and regional quality of life for the Cincinnati, Hamilton County, and our surrounding areas. Next slide. And so you've probably seen these slides before, but these are the sort of the framework that we're working through to make the changes, right? We know that, prior to Reinventing Metro, we heard a lot of things. We heard a lot of things from you, including we want buses to run more often. We want them to be dependable. We want a nice place to wait. We want amenities at our stops. We want safer places to wait and transfer. Buses need to run longer. I work late. I can't get home from work. I can get to work, but I can't get home. We want to increase the span of our service. And we want to make sure that when you are using our services, that it's getting you there in a timely manner, right? We know you don't want to spend a lot of time on the bus. We want to get you there fast. So all of these things are what we're keeping in mind as we work to make changes and make the system improvements moving forward. Next slide. So with these changes, 65,000 more jobs will be accessible by Metro through Reinventing Metro. 25,000 higher paying jobs accessible with our Metro service, and 45,000 additional transit dependent will now have access to Metro service. So we are expanding into places we haven't been before, or we're expanding our hours and our span and frequency of service to those who couldn't use it before. And some of the other objectives, we talked about these on the earlier slides, but we're trying to make not only the system better in terms of frequency and span, but we also want to make sure we're doing the right thing and making it easier to use. Even the best systems out there aren't useful if they are difficult to understand or confusing. So we're trying to reduce some of the branches. We're trying to reduce some of the confusion. We're working on things, just as an example, with our partners to the south, the Transit Authority of Northern Kentucky, or TANK. We have a 2X, they have a 2X. We're trying to work together and sort of make it easier for not just Metro riders, but for tank riders, BCRTA riders, making sure that we really are building a system that is for the entire region and not just focused on Metro. So working with partners outside of the agency, as well as extending our reach within Hamilton County, and we're going to continue to make these improvements moving forward. Next slide. So one of the things that we did right off the bat, once issue 7 passed, is we decided, you know what, we had way too many fare combinations. There were zones. You had to if you were transferring between zones, there were upcharges. There was a lot of confusion. We had actually 32 different fare combinations. We said, you know what, that's too much. So we took a hard look at that. We went through a very long long process, and we got that down to 8 different fare combinations. And we eliminated our zones permanently. So now all of our fares are route-based. We eliminated transfers. If you're using the app, you get your 2-hour window through Easy Fare. And we also reduced the fares for some of our commuter routes that serve downtown. Next slide. Last year, Reinventing Metro Phase 1 took effect on May 30th. And we also had some other minor changes in August of 2021. We introduced 24-hour service on 7 routes, those you see here listed on the screen. And 12 other routes, we improved the frequency, and we actually introduced 2 new routes, both of them being crosstowns, the route 37 and 65. And that was all just part of Phase 1 and 1A. Some of the changes we made just recently, we improved our holiday service. So in previous holidays, sometimes if a holiday fell on a weekend, we would shift the holiday to the day before or the day after. We've said, nope, that's too confusing. We're going to simplify that. So you'll see that moving forward. We also introduced the Route 28 weekend service back into our system. And we've also added trips out to the Amazon facility over on River Road through the Route 28. And then some of our routes that needed a little love, we went back and improved the frequency on several routes here. You can see those on your screen, the 6, 19, and 46, providing a more reliable, more even headway, or the bus comes at regular intervals versus what it had been in the past. So these are all changes that we are continuing to make, and changes we're looking at for all of our routes moving forward. Next slide. All right, I'll turn it over to Mark, and he'll go through the specifics of what the changes are proposed for December. Mark.
Thanks, Matt. Hello, everyone. I'm Mark Simon. I'm the Long Range Planning Manager here at Metro, and I'll be going over our proposed service changes for this December. If you have any questions or comments about it, please do put those in the Q&A, not in the chat, and we'll go from there. So first, I'm going to go over some of our new routes, and then we'll go over the changes to our major routes and some minor route changes as well. So the first new route we're going to talk about today is called Route 5. So Route 5 will primarily serve the Oakley, Kenwood, Sycamore Township, Blue Ash, and Sharonville areas. This will be one of our first local routes running north of UC Blue Ash, and is an important extension into the northeast part of the county to access the Blue Ash Sharonville jobs area, as well as some new residents throughout the county. So this new Route 5 will run from the Oakley Transit Center through Pleasant Ridge and Kennedy Heights, Silverton to the Kenwood Mall, and then it will follow the existing Route 4 Kenwood branch on Galbraith up Plainfield to serve the UC Blue Ash, where it will then continue up north, generally following the Reed-Hartman Highway through Blue Ash, making its way up to Kemper Road, where it will then end in Sharonville at the Sharonville Plaza off of Route 42 or Lebanon Road, just outside of 275. So this route will run about every 30 minutes on weekdays as well as weekends, and it will run from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. on weekdays, and 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. on weekends. So this route is taking basically the existing Route 4 Ridge branch, which serves the Oakley Transit Center running through Pleasant Ridge and Kennedy Heights before running down Montgomery Road to downtown. The existing Ridge branch of the 4 will no longer run, as it will be taken by this route, Route 5. This route will, for the first time, allow a seamless connection between the Oakley area, so the part of the east side of the city of Cincinnati, connecting it directly to Kenwood, which has never had direct service before today. This route will serve approximately 13,600 people and almost 45,000 jobs in this area. The next new route I'm going to talk about today is called Route 61, which is our new Galbraith Crosstown route. So this route will run from the Madeira Park and Ride area through Kenwood, and then across Galbraith Road for the almost the entire length of the road to Coleraine Avenue, where it will then run north on Coleraine, serving the Groesbeck, Northgate areas before ending at the Coleraine Town Center just outside of 275. This is a brand new crosstown route and something that Metro has been asked for decades. This route will run approximately every 30 minutes all day, 7 days a week, from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m., except Sundays, where it will end at 8 p.m. The key areas this will serve is the Kenwood Mall area, the Drake Center in Hartwell, North College Hill, Finneytown, and Coleraine Township. This will connect with every north-south route that we have in this area, allowing for good transfers between folks who may be coming up from the city or down from the northern suburbs and then need to go east to west. This route will serve approximately 27,000 people and about 17,000 jobs in our region, and will be an important part of the multinodal network that we are creating. Finally, Route 67. So currently we do have an existing Route 67. It runs once in the morning and once in the afternoon, connecting the downtown city of Cincinnati area directly to Blue Ash, Sharonville, and parts of Evendale. This route doesn't serve the area very well currently because of the only one trip in the morning and one in the afternoon. And as we started to plan around some more crosstown service in the northern part of the county, we realized that this would be a great route to turn into an all-day local route running crosstown service. So this new route, well, this heavily modified Route 67 will run east to west, starting at the sort of Meyer Park and Ride at Fields Erdel and Montgomery Road at the county line. It will run down Montgomery Road to the 16-mile stand, sort of Harper's Point area in Sims Township, where it will then run west along Kemper Road. As it runs west along Kemper Road, it will make a few deviations to serve job areas and hubs more directly, as well as provide for better connections to other routes, such as our new Route 5 and some of the other major route changes that I'll be talking about after this. So this route will serve Sims Township, the northern part of Blue Ash, Sharonville, as well as Forest Park. It will serve the Tri-County area, and the end of the line to the west will be the existing sorta Forest Park and Ride. This route will run about every 30 minutes every day, and will run from approximately 6 a.m. to 10 p.m., a slightly lower span of service on weekends. This will also provide service to the Great Oaks campus in Sharonville, which has requested bus service from us in the past, and we will be serving with this route. And it will also allow for good local connections to the Fields Erdel area, which currently you can only get to during peak on some of our reverse commute express routes with very few trips. So those are the 3 new or almost new routes that we are introducing. And now I'm going to speak about the improvements we'll be making to our existing routes. So we'll be touching routes 4, 15, 16, 17, 20, 24, and 43, as well as a minor adjustment to Route 78. And we'll go over those today. All right, so first we're going to talk about Route 4. So as I said earlier, with the new Route 5, which will cover the northern part of this route, the main change for Route 4 that we are looking at is the discontinuation of the Ridge branch of Route 4, which serves the Kennedy Heights, Columbia Township, and Oakley Transit Center areas. This is for a variety of reasons. One is that this route has a lot of branches. And the other is that with that branch is much shorter than the other branches on this route, leading to uneven headways and difficulty scheduling, as well as not really serving the Montgomery Road corridor. So the plan for this route is that the Ridge branch of Route 4 will no longer run, and the portions of the current Route 4 Silverton Blue Ash route, which serve portions of Silverton as well as Deer Park, will be taken by Route 5. So this route will better serve the northeast part of the county. This will allow us to have more even headways along the trunk of Route 4 and will greatly increase frequencies outside of the city of Cincinnati into Sycamore Township and Blue Ash. The span and the frequency of this route will remain the same. And this will allow for more frequent service out to the Kenwood area and Blue Ash. Route 20. Route 20 is our Winton Road local route. It also serves the Tri-County Mall area and enters downtown on Central Parkway after serving the Northside Transit Center. This route runs about every 30 minutes today, and its span of service is about 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. In the last round of improvements, the frequency on this route was improved from about hourly to about every 30 minutes today, and Sunday service was restored. So prior to last year, this route did not have service on Sundays, and it now does. So our plan is simply to extend Route 20 farther north from the Forest Park Park and Ride up to the Cincinnati Mills Mall area, specifically the Mire, just north of 275. Frequency will remain the same, span will remain the same. And essentially what this does is Route 20 will no longer, after serving the Forest Park Park and Ride, head east to serve the Tri-County Mall area. And this is because the new Route 67 will serve that corridor with more frequent service all day. This will also add new service to the portion of Hamilton County just outside of 275, connecting to another major grocery store, as well as whatever potential redevelopment happens with the Cincinnati Mills Mall area. Other than that, this route will remain the same. And just to zoom in and kind of see what we're talking about here, the extension north of the Forest Park Park and Ride to the Mire and Cincinnati Mills Mall area to the north is shown in the circle. And the new Route 67 is shown in blue here, as well as our existing Express Route 23 providing service on Kemper Road. So just to put that all together, you can see the current conditions on the left with the existing Route 20 and the existing Route 67, which only has one trip in the AM and one in the PM. And on the right, you can see the new conditions. Route 43. So Route 43 is our Reading Road local route. It is a workhorse route. It is the highest ridership route in Southwest Ohio, as well as the highest ridership route in Ohio that is not in Cleveland. This route runs approximately every 15 minutes, a little more during peak, about every 10, 12 minutes, and a little less off peak, about 15 to 20 minutes. It has 4 branches. The Laughlin branch, which runs up Reading Road from downtown into the city of Reading before turning left and onto Columbia and coming down Shepherd and serving the Wyoming area here, Wyoming and Laughlin areas here with connections to Route 78. There's the Evendale branch, which follows that same alignment, but instead of turning out of Reading, it continues north on Reading Road to serve the Evendale area at the intersection of Glendale, Milford, and Reading, where there is a Walmart and a Menards and a bunch of other retail and shopping areas up there, before heading to the west across Glendale, Milford, and ending at Springfield Pike, where it connects with Route 78 as well. And finally, there is the Bond Hill branch, which is our shorter branch of all the Route 43 branches, which once it gets to Paddock after leaving downtown Cincinnati, deviates off of Reading Road, serving the neighborhood of Bond Hill before ending and Bond Hill Roselawn line along Seymour and Langdon Farms up here. The 24-hour part of Route 43 is that Bond Hill branch. And this is a fairly productive route altogether. So what we are proposing is essentially to streamline some of these branches and increase the frequency of service north of Bond Hill. So the proposal is that there will only be 2 branches, the Evendale / Bond Hill branch and the Sharonville branch. So the existing Bond Hill branch will still continue to be served by the new Evendale Bond Hill branch. But after serving the neighborhood of Bond Hill, instead of ending at Seymour and Langdon Farm, it will continue north on Reading Road, where it will end at the new end of line at the Evendale Walmart and Menards area there. In addition, the new Sharonville branch will just simply run straight up Reading Road without turning until it gets to Sharonville Plaza at the end of the line, where it will connect with Route 5, the new Route 5. So this will allow for high frequency service from downtown all the way out to Evendale on Reading Road, as opposed to just having high frequency service south of Bond Hill. This will also extend the 24-hour service on Reading Road out to Evendale, which is a big deal for serving the jobs out there, as well as serving our riders, customers, and residents of Hamilton County. And when I get to Route 78, I'll talk about this a little bit more in detail. But that section that runs west along Glendale Milford Road on the existing 43 will not occur, and instead the Route 78 Lincoln Heights branch will take that. We'll get more into that later. So these improvements will add more service to Reading Road, especially north of Bond Hill, as well as extending the 24-hour reach of our system further into Hamilton County. And as you can see here on the left, the northern part of Route 43 currently is running along Glendale Milford Road, ending at Springfield Pike. Instead, 43 will end at Evendale, and the Route 78 Lincoln Heights branch will be extended along Glendale Milford Road to the new end of line in Evendale. This will also help eliminate some transfers for folks originating in Laughlin, Wyoming, and Lincoln Heights, who may be trying to get over to Evendale. Now we'll talk about routes 15, 16, and 17, serving the northwest part of Hamilton County. This one is a little bit more complex just because this is a package deal between these 3 routes. So the current conditions of these routes is that the main route, Route 17, which is our second highest ridership route in our system, currently runs through Clifton, up Hamilton Avenue, before branching off after reaching College Hill. Some branches continue north along Hamilton, ending up in the Seven Hills area, or heading west and ending in Coleraine. In addition, there's the Mount Healthy branch of Route 17, which once it gets to North Bend in College Hill, heads west on North Bend, north up Simpson, east on Galbraith, before returning back to the main line and ending in Mount Healthy. And finally, the Mount Airy branch, which is our shortest branch on Route 17, which heads west on North Bend from College Hill to the neighborhood of Mount Airy, the end of the line at Coleraine and Kirby. Route 16 is our Mount Healthy, Winton Hills, Spring Grove route. So the current Route 16 goes from downtown to the Northside Transit Center via Spring Grove, before heading to Spring Grove Village and Winton Hills to the Winton Terrace development, through Finneytown, up Daly Road, over to Mount Healthy on Compton, before ending at Hilltop Plaza in Mount Healthy. This route has no branches and it runs approximately every 30 minutes. Finally, the existing Route 15, which is a commuter route running peak-only service, generally along Hamilton Avenue, with a few trips serving the Daly Road deviation through Finneytown and Mount Healthy and North College Hill. Once Route 15 comes down Hamilton and ends at the Northside Transit Center, it then runs express service to downtown via Spring Grove without making stops. And again, that only runs during peak, and typically in the peak direction only. So that is the existing conditions. And these slides just kind of go over what I just said there, showcasing all of the different branches. So here's the proposal. We'll take Route 17 down to 3 branches, really primarily 2 branches throughout the day, but with a 3rd branch to serve Mount Airy and Aiken High School along Belmont. So the proposal is to keep the current Seven Hills branch of Route 17, which is the branch that runs straight up Hamilton without getting off the main road before ending near 275, and to keep the Mount Healthy branch of Route 17, which serves North College Hill and Mount Healthy a bit more directly. In addition, we would continue to run the existing Mount Airy branch with a deviation onto Belmont during the morning and afternoon in order to better serve Aiken High School with direct service on Route 17. This route will continue to run about the same frequency as it does today, about every 15 minutes, with a little more frequent service during peak and a little less frequent service off peak. And the Mount Healthy branch will continue to be the 24-hour branch of Route 17. So you may be asking, what happened to the Northgate branch? Well, I'll tell you. So Route 16 will essentially take the Northgate branch of Route 17. So on the map here, the idea is that Route 16, instead of heading west on Compton from Daly and then heading north on Hamilton to end, it will continue west on Compton, taking the Northgate branch of the 17, serving the Northgate area and ending at the Coleraine Town Center, as the Northgate branch of the 17 does today. In addition, the Route 16 would no longer serve downtown south of Northside Transit Center. So it would end at Northside Transit Center and serve these outer neighborhood and suburban communities instead at the same frequency, about every 30 minutes. In order to serve the areas south of Northside Transit Center, Route 15 would become a new all-day local route, essentially taking the current alignment of Route 16 south of the Northside Transit Center by traveling south on Spring Grove, but making stops in the Camp Washington area, as well as portions of Queensgate. This will also run at 30-minute frequencies throughout the day, and will provide a more multimodal service with shorter routes, hopefully more frequent service and better transfers between routes. And this route would run 7 days a week. Right. So on the left, you can see the current 15 serving areas north of Northside Transit Center for running express to downtown. And then on the right, you can see the proposed conditions for this area. Route 15 taking the existing Route 16 alignment south of Northside, and Route 16 running from Northside Transit Center to Northgate. Right. There's the fully zoomed out view there. All right. Route 24. Route 24 is an east side or southeast portion of the county local route running from the Anderson Town Center Park and Ride through Mount Washington and Mount Lookout before cutting across Hyde Park over to the Uptown area on Madison Road and which becomes MLK, serving the hospital area as well as the University of Cincinnati directly, while then making its way downtown through Mount Auburn on Auburn Avenue, deviating over to Highland to come down the hill and serving Government Square. So this route runs about every 40 minutes from 5 a.m. to midnight. It is a lower productivity route in terms of the number of passengers on each bus. And everything south of MLK is essentially duplicated by our Route 19, which in our previous round of improvements, Route 19's frequency was dramatically improved throughout the day to have a more even service throughout the day and bring more buses into the Coleraine as well as Uptown and Mount Auburn areas. So and in addition, we wanted to say that connecting the Anderson area and the Mount Washington area via Route 24 to downtown is an exceptionally long trip. It can take up over 90 minutes from Government Square to the Anderson Park and Ride on this route. And in fact, it is actually faster to take this route to the Mount Lookout Hyde Park area and then transfer to Route 11, which will get you downtown about 40 minutes faster than simply staying on Route 24. So our solution is to turn this into a crosstown route that serves the same alignment on the east side as it does now, but instead of running to downtown after serving the hospital area, we'll instead end at the Cincinnati Zoo layover. This will allow us to provide better frequency on weekdays, as well as better connections to Uptown and directly serving Walnut Hills High School during school times. The span of service will be about the same, 5 a.m. to midnight, with a bit more frequency on weekdays. So current on the left, proposed on the right. All right, so that is the roundup of all of our proposed changes for December. And just from a high level view, say we will be adding about 7% increase in bus service throughout Hamilton County. So while we're adding 7% more service hours, we'll have a 16% increase in the number of jobs accessible by bus within a quarter mile of a bus stop, about a 5 to 8 minute walk, depending on the person. We'll serve an additional 10% of the population of our service area within that 5 to 8 minute walk. We'll serve an additional 9% of the local African-American population in our service area, and an additional 6% of households that are in poverty. Finally, will be an 8% increase in the number of no vehicle households in Hamilton County that will be able to access a bus within that quarter mile. Right. And again, from a high level, we wanted to show why we're moving branches around and creating new routes and changing frequencies. To the left is our current frequencies of our system. This is our average frequencies throughout the day, where the red lines generally are our trunk routes, have service about every 15 minutes or better. The blue lines have service every 16 to 30 minutes, and the green lines have service every 31 to 60 minutes. On the left, you can see there are more green lines that 30 to 60 minute service, especially in the northwest part of the county. And you can see a lack of local routes out here in the northeast part of the county. So on the right, you can see the proposed system, far more blue routes, AKA more frequent service on these alignments, and new routes in the northeast part of the county, as well as the new Galbraith Crosstown route here. You can also see that the Reading Road Route 43 red line, the service every 15 minute or better, is now extended all the way out to Evendale instead of ending in Bond Hill as it does today. And Additionally, kind of for the first time in a long time, Sharonville, which is a big employment center as well as has a lot of residences and shopping areas, will have local bus service for the first time. And to kind of show this, on the left, you can see how many jobs and population you can reach by public transportation today, which is anything within a 15-minute walk, because there is no local bus service out here or even express service through most of the day. On the right, you can see that with the new service, you'll be able to travel throughout Hamilton County fairly reasonably and reach about 125,000 people within an hour and 167,000 jobs, compared to 2,500 and 1,500 respectively today. Right? Mobility on demand. Matt, I'm gonna send this back to Matt, who will talk about these changes, and we'll go from there.
All right, thanks, Mark. So as part of Reinventing Metro, we've also promised some new modes of transportation, and one of those is mobility on demand. You've probably heard us refer to it as MOD for short. But we wanted to provide just an update for you. So we will actually be looking to implement our first couple of zones either late this year or very early in 2023. So the service has been branded. It has a name now. It's Metro Now. So first of all, what is mobility on demand, or what is MOD? So not every neighborhood in our service area can support a 40-foot transit bus. It's just not, some of the streets are too small or the density is not quite there. But we don't want to leave those folks out just because we can't fit a 40-foot bus down the street. So what this service is designed to do is to get more into those pockets where we can't fit a full-size bus, or it's just not efficient to do so. So these are smaller vehicles. There's one on the screen you see now. That's not necessarily the vehicle we will have, but it's just an idea of what those vehicles will look like. They'll be branded with the Metro Now logo. And these will be more designed to provide that first last mile connection from fixed route to wherever you're going, whether it's your job, healthcare, shopping, etc. And this is designed to, I don't want to use the word Uber, but it's something more like that. It's something, if you've used Uber before, it's similar to that, right? So you'll be able to schedule a trip via the app. So there will be an app for that, or you can still schedule a trip based or by calling our call center. And go to the next slide, please. So as you can see on the screen, we've did an extensive study over the past year or so, looking at where it makes sense to have this type of service, right? So we identified 6 zones where it made sense to implement something like this. So for this year, or the end of this year or very early next year, 2023, we're looking to start with 2 zones. Those 2 zones are going to be the ones you see with the arrows on your screen. So the Springdale area and the Mount Healthy Northgate area. So we're starting with those 2 for a couple of reasons. The Springdale area, there's, after an extensive study, there is a lack of connection to healthcare, to jobs in that area. So we definitely wanted to start there and make sure that we know how this service is going to operate, how it's going to affect folks, whether it's going to be useful, whether people are going to use it or not, and then how much they're going to use it. And then for the Mount Healthy and Northgate zone, we've already got a fairly strong route. The Route 19 goes straight up Coleraine Avenue. There's a couple of routes in that area as well. But we want to know more about and kind of pilot how folks will use the mobility on demand service to also connect to the bigger network. So with a very frequent or 25-minute Route 19 going through there, we're going to see just how that works. That way we can, we gain the experience, we gain the expertise, and know that we can make changes in the future, and know that when we roll out additional zones, we've got the right service, the right type of service in the right areas. So those are going to start again late this year, or very early in 2023. Right now, the proposed schedule for operations is going to be weekdays starting at 6 a.m. until 8 p.m. and then weekends from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Again, so that's still just in the very early stages. Those times could change a little bit. But the other thing that we're also doing is the type of mobility on demand. It comes in different flavors. There's different types of mobility on demand. The first one you see here, full MOD. So during the off-peak times when demand is not quite so strong, it'll be very similar. Again, don't want to use that word Uber, but it'll be very similar to that. We'll be able to pick you up at the curb and take you anywhere you need to go inside that zone, or to connect you to a fixed route, the existing fixed route is already part of our network. During the peak times when demand is going to be higher, traffic is a little bit more heavy, we're going to do something called Flex Stop. Flex Stop is similar to curb to curb, but what will happen is that the app will actually tell you, hey, I can pick you up in 10 minutes or 5 minutes, but you have to walk down here to this whatever hub is there, right? So if it's a corner on a main street, just to save some time, the vehicle not having to deviate a bunch of other little streets, it might ask you to walk just a little bit further so that we can make sure we meet all of demand in that zone. We have not yet determined the fares that are going to be charged for mobility on demand. That's something that is still being studied as we speak right now. So those are just the first two zones, early 2023 or late 2022. And we have the other zones, as you see on the screen, or other zones as the study continues, will be implemented later in 2023 and beyond. And again, yep, and here are the other zones just broken out with the names added to them, the same ones that you saw on the previous slide. All right, and I think I have a BRT update as well. Yep, so a number of things are happening with Reinventing Metro, including all the service changes that Mark just talked about, as well as the mobility on demand. We're also embarking on our BRT journey. So for those of you who are not familiar with BRT, or Bus Rapid Transit, so this is a more dedicated service. It operates in a dedicated right-of-way, meaning that for at least part of its route or the majority of its route, it would be separated from traffic, right? So it'll have a priority, it'll be able to move faster, it'll move more people, and it will have, hopefully, transit signal priority, or TSP, meaning that we would actually have technology in place. The system would know that a bus is approaching an intersection, and the traffic signals would be set to keep the green light a little longer so that the bus can make it through. Just to help move the bus faster than your traditional local routes. So these vehicles would be specially branded. They would look different. They would have their own color scheme. And then the shelters and bus stops for this type of service would be spaced a little bit further apart. So we wouldn't be stopping every block or every other block. They would be sort of at your major destinations. So your major residential developments or schools, healthcare, those kinds of things. And the stations would be a little bit more enhanced than what you would expect at a typical bus stop. There'll be a shelter or a TVM, which is a ticket vending machine for fare payments. Amenities such as, the station would be branded to look sort of like the neighborhood that it's in, or to sort of blend with the aesthetics of the area that it's located. And the other thing is that we would do off-board fare payment, meaning that you would buy your fare before you get onto the bus. That way we speed up the process of getting folks on the bus, and we can keep that bus moving faster. And so the idea is to move more people faster than a local service bus. So the next slide will show you sort of which corridors are kind of being considered for this service. Right now we're looking at, and these are in no particular order, Glenway Avenue, Hamilton Avenue, Montgomery, and Reading Road. So if you sort of look at the current system map, you'll notice that these correspond to sort of the heaviest ridership areas in the city. So those are the four that are being considered as of right now. And then, as you can see, none of these are set in stone. These are just for illustrative purposes. But we're looking at different types of stops, right? You'll have your business district stops or neighborhood stops. And then along the route, you also have maybe a park and ride. So you'd be able to park your car out at whatever location it is, hop on a BRT, and get to downtown or to another connecting route much faster than you could on the local routes. So on the next slide, we'll show you sort of where we are. We've kicked off our study for this. We've got consultants on board helping us determine basically, the best way to move forward and the most efficient way and the most effective way for our region. So we had an agency-wide corridor tour last month in July. We took buses out to these 4 corridors and sort of just drove the alignments and seeing what they would look like. As part of these meetings that we're in right now, the Reinventing Metro updates, we are presenting this information to you just to kind of get everybody sort of just in the groove, knowing what BRT is and what it means for the communities. And we will be looking to have our what we call an alternatives analysis to be completed very early in 2023, meaning that we'll take those 4 studied corridors and recommend 2 of them to move forward into a design phase. So basically looking at all kinds of different things along those routes, what it means for jobs, communities, right-of-way availability, all of that stuff, taking that all into account and making a recommendation on which 2 are the best to move forward with. I think that's it for me on BRT. So again, all of the changes that we're talking about here today, including everything Mark talked about, mobility on demand, and even the BRT, we are looking for your feedback. We want to know how you feel about these changes, these proposed changes, and we want to hear from you. That's how we make sure that we are building the system that best meets your needs. This is your community, this is your metro, and we want to make sure we're doing everything we're hearing from you. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, everything that, all the feedback that you provide to us before 11:59 p.m. on the 25th will be entered as part of the record of these public meetings. And the feedback will also be summarized and presented to the sort of board of trustees. So they'll hear from you as well. And as Mark mentioned, it is 11:54. We'd love to answer any questions you might have. We'd ask that you use the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen and not the chat box. So with that, be happy to open it up to any questions you have. We'll be checking the Q&A box. And I definitely want to thank you for taking the time out of your day to be here with us. This is a super exciting time to be part of Cincinnati Metro. This is great. So thank you very much. All right, looks like we have a question. A couple of them are coming in now. The first one is, any consideration of running buses from suburbs to downtown events, like an express, but during those weekends? So there is some talk. We are working with some of our partners, especially in our surrounding counties. So Warren County, Butler County, and Claremont counties specifically, on sort of partnering together and looking at ways we can provide service from those areas to downtown. So more to come on that. I don't have anything concrete for you on that just yet, but yes, we are looking at that. We want to be the Southwest Ohio Regional Transit Authority, not just the Hamilton County Transit Authority. So yes, we are working with our partners to come up with some service that is going to do just that. We talk about folks who live in, let's say, Westchester or Mason or any other communities that want to go to a Reds game on the weekend, but they can't get there on transit. So they're driving their car and paying $20-$30 to park downtown. So we hear you. And yes, we are working on that. All right, the next question I see is for Metro Now, what accommodations are in place for users with sensory issues, hearing and vision disabilities? So all of the vehicles that we'll be using for the mobility on demand service will be completely ADA compliant and ADA capable. We still have our Metro paratransit, our access service, none of that is going to change. That's still going to be available. So if they're already using those services, they will continue to do that. However, we do expect that some folks from access may be able to transition over to mobility on demand. The benefits of that being that currently paratransit requires a 24-hour advance reservation, whereas Metro Now, as the name would suggest, is something you can schedule now. So the app will be available to use for booking trips, again, in real time now, or they can still call the call center, our customer care center, and schedule trips that way. I see another question.
I can take the 17.
You want to take that one, Mark? All right, go ahead.
Yeah. So basically the route, since the 17 Northgate branch would be put onto Route 16, you would be using the Seven Hills branch, which will have some of the frequency from the 17 Northgate redistributed to it. So it will run more frequently. So you would use the Seven Hills branch, probably from the exact same bus stop as you're doing now.
Yep, these are all great questions. Appreciate it. All right. Any other questions? So I do know that our meeting today is from 11 to 1. So I believe we will run through the presentation again. Is that correct, Mark?
Yep.
Yep. So we'll run through the presentation again for anyone that has just joined, starting here in just a few minutes, but you can continue to type your questions into the Q&A box, and we'll get started with the presentation again here in about 2 minutes. All right. I think we'll go ahead and restart the presentation. So if you're still on, you'll be hearing the same information again. We just want to make sure that we run through it again for anyone that may have joined. Mark, if you could get the pull up the PowerPoint again. All right, so we'll get started again here. Welcome, good afternoon now. Thank you for joining us today to discuss the Reinventing Metro Phase 2 proposed service changes. So again, these are just proposed changes. We're actually here to get your feedback, see how you feel about these, get some information from you, and so we can go back and make any changes or revisions that may be necessary. So we definitely want to hear from you. And to do that, we'll go to the next slide. So you can log on to our website, which is located at www.go-metro.com. There's an online survey there. We'd love to hear from you. These improvements are proposed only. They're not set in stone just yet. So we're here to get your feedback. These are proposed to take effect on Sunday, December 4th. Any feedback that we receive before 11:59 p.m. on August 25th will be entered as part of the record of these public meetings. And of course, your feedback will be presented, summarized and presented to our sort of board of trustees for their consideration. During the meeting, if you have any questions, feel free to type them into the Q&A feature, Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. We ask that you do not use the chat box. And I think with that, we'll get rolling here. Next slide. So my name is Matt Mormon. I am the Senior Manager of Service Planning and Scheduling here at SORTA. And I'm joined today by Mark Saman. He's the Long Range Planning Manager. I'm here to kick things off, talk about a few things kind of high level, and then Mark will take over and go into the details of each individual change. So as you see on your screen here, you may have seen this slide before, but the objectives of Reinventing Metro have not changed. The reason we're doing this project, the reason we're doing these changes are we are trying to expand our regional connectivity. We need people to be able to get where they want to go and where they need to go, whether that's healthcare, that's jobs, shopping, appointment, whatever it is. We want to make sure that we are expanding that connectivity to our region. We want to make sure we are driving economic development and improving mobility for all. So we want to make sure that, you know, if the service doesn't work for you now, we're going to make sure that it does. We want to attract new businesses and employers to our region, which will allow our region to have access to more jobs and higher paying jobs. And of course, improve the local and regional quality of life for everyone in our community. Next slide, please. So we are focusing on 4 different areas. So the acronym FAST, that stands for frequency, amenities, span, and travel time. Frequency is the time between buses, or how often does a bus come. We've heard from you in previous meetings and in the past saying, hey, I need this bus to come more often. I need it. If I miss it, I have to wait, you know, a long time and I'm going to be late. So I need these buses to run more often. So we're focusing on improving frequency. Amenities are things, you know, like benches and shelters and real-time signs at our waiting areas. You know, we want to make sure that these areas are safe, they're comfortable, and people want to use them. Our span of service is how long do buses run? If they start, you know, if you start your job at, you know, second or third shift, Metro can get you to your job, but can't get you home, then you can't use it, right? It doesn't work for you. So we're making sure that we are running our buses, you know, when they're needed. And then our travel time is basically how long are you spending on the bus? Not that we don't want you on our buses, we want you there, but we want to make sure that you're not on there any longer than you have to be. We're trying to speed up those trip times and make sure that, you know, we're getting you where you need to go as fast as we can and as safe as we can. Next slide. So with these improvements, There will be 65,000 more jobs accessible by Metro service. There will be 25,000 more higher paying jobs accessible by our service. And additionally, 45,000 transit dependent folks will now have access to Metro that did not have it before. Next slide. And again, the objectives of reinventing Metro, again, we want to increase the mobility, we want to increase the access to the jobs, healthcare, educate. We want to make sure that anywhere you might need to go or might want to go, we're there for you and we can get you there. We also know that if we want to get folks using the service, it has to be easy to use. And we're doing that by reducing some of our branches and some of our confusion. We're actually working, with some of our partners just south of the river over in Kentucky. Our friends at Tank, they've got a Route 2X. We had a Route 2X, now just the 2. But that can be confusing, especially from someone who's visiting from out of town or is here for a conference or on business, whatever that is. I want to make sure that when you come here, whether you're familiar with our system or not, it's easy to use. We also want to make sure that we are extending our reach throughout Hamilton County. We are no longer focused on the city. We're trying to reach out to the community in the county. And we are continuing to make these improvements, for all these reasons. Next slide. So one of the things that we did is, as part of Reinventing Metro early on, is we looked at our fare structure. So previously, before we made any changes back in April of 2021, there were a possible 32 different fare combinations. There were multiple zones. Were you traveling, from zone 1 into zone 2, or were you traveling, from the, suburban expresses? There were 3 of them. They each had a different fare. It was very confusing. There were upcharges if you went from one route to another. It was confusing. So we took a hard look at that. We really wanted to make it simple as possible. And we got that down to 8 combinations. There are no more zones. And we also reduced the fare for our commuter routes. In May and August of 2021, last summer, we introduced 7 routes that now have 24-hour service. So you see those on your screen on the right. So this is exciting to me because right now, since May of 2021, there has never not been a Metro bus out on the road. So we are running out 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We also had 12 routes where we improved frequency. And we also introduced 2 new routes that both happen to be crosstowns. And that was the Route 37 and the Route 65. Some of the other things we did, again, if we're going to have a system that people can use, it has to be easy to use and easy to understand. One of those things that was a little bit confusing was the way we handled holiday service. In the past, if a holiday fell on a weekend, sometimes we would shift that holiday to either the day before on Friday or the day after on Monday. Made it confusing for everyone. So that is no longer the case. The holiday falls on the holiday. So Route 28, we also brought back weekend service on this route. We also now run service over to the Amazon facility on River Road. And a couple of these routes, the 6, 19, and 46, those routes needed a little bit of love, hadn't been touched in a while. So we went through and rebuilt those schedules at a more even headway. They run more frequently now. Trying to make that system easier to use and easier to understand. Next slide. All right, I will turn it over to Mark, and he's going to talk to you more about the specific changes coming up, the proposed changes for December. Mark.
Thanks, Matt. So I'm Mark Saman. I'm the Long Range Planning Manager here at Metro, and I'll be going over some of our changes proposed for this winter. So we will be adding a few new routes as well as making some major changes to our existing routes. First, I'm going to go over the new routes, and then we'll talk about the changes to our existing ones. The first new route we'll be introducing is called Route 5. Route 5 will serve the northeastern part of Hamilton County, specifically running from Oakley through Pleasant Ridge and Kennedy Heights to Silverton and the Kenwood Mall area, through the current alignment of Route 4 up to Blue Ash, serving UC Blue Ash, and then continuing north, generally along the Reed-Hartman Highway corridor, through Blue Ash up to Kemper Road, where it will head west to Sharonville before ending at the Sharonville Plaza off Reading Road, just north of 275. This route will be one of the first local routes to serve this portion of Hamilton County. We'll run about every 30 minutes, 7 days a week. This route, and I will explain a little further on the next slide, this route will be taking the existing Route 4 Ridge branch, which runs from the Oakley Transit Center up to Montgomery Road before running to downtown, and instead will be part of the new Route 5. The next new route that we'll be introducing is called Route 61. This is the Galbraith Crosstown route. So this route, which has been requested by the community for decades, will connect the suburban communities in Hamilton County to each other east to west along Galbraith Road. It will start on the east side at the Madeira, the existing Sorta Madeira Park and Ride, run up north to Kenwood Mall, and then run west across Galbraith Road, hitting every single existing north-south local route along its way until it reaches Coleraine, in which case it will run north, serving the Groesbeck and Northgate areas before ending at the Coleraine Town Center, just outside of 275. This route will run every 30 minutes every day and will run 7 days a week from about 6 a.m. to 10 p.m., except Sunday, when it will run until 8. This route will directly serve the Kenwood area, as well as the Drake Hospital area in Hartwell, and connect to the Coleraine commercial corridor. This route will serve about 27,000 people directly within a quarter-mile walk of the bus stop and about 17,000 jobs. Route 67. So this is essentially a new route, but we are reconfiguring one of our current routes, Route 67. So currently, Route 67 runs once in the morning and once in the afternoon, connecting people from the city of Cincinnati to job areas in Blue Ash and Sharonville. It's not very useful unless that bus trip happens to line up with your schedule. And so instead, we are proposing turning Route 67 into a new northern part of the county crosstown route, running generally along Kemper Road. So this route will run from the east, starting at the existing Sorta Park and Ride at the Meyer on Fields Erdel by Montgomery Road in Sims Township. It will then run south along Montgomery Road to the 16-mile stand Harper's Point area, where it will then run west along Kemper Road. It will make a few deviations off of Kemper Road to better serve commercial and job corridors in Blue Ash and Sharonville, as well as make better connections to some of our new routes that we are implementing this year. And it will end at the Forest Park Park and Ride off of Winton Road. It will also serve the Great Oaks campus in Sharonville, which has requested bus service for some time. So those are the new routes, or substantially new routes, that we are introducing. And now I'm going to talk about some of the major changes to our other routes, including Route 4, 15, 16, 17, 20, 24, and 43, as well as a minor adjustment to Route 78. All right, first off, Route 4. So as I spoke about earlier with the new Route 5, which will generally follow the northern part of this route before heading north into Blue Ash. Route 4 currently has several branches of different lengths. It's a fairly dense corridor, but ridership is not as high as it is in other corridors. And there are some gaps in this area. So for example, there is no one-seat ride from the Oakley Transit Center serving the city of Cincinnati's east side to the Kenwood Mall area or to Blue Ash. This is because currently, if you're in Oakley and you want to go to Kenwood, you would take the 4 Ridge branch to Montgomery Road, you would get off, and then you would transfer to a different branch of Route 4 to continue heading northeast. The Ridge branch is also far shorter than the other 2 branches, which can lead to uneven headways and severe inefficiencies in scheduling. Our proposal for this route is to reduce the number of branches and put more service onto the main line on Montgomery Road. So the Ridge branch of Route 4 would be lopped off and instead become part of the new Route 5. In addition, the Silverton Blue Ash branch of Route 4 will no longer run, as most of it will be taken by the new Route 5. And instead, this will leave Route 4 with one major branch, the existing Kenwood Blue Ash branch, which will have far more frequent service on it northeast of Pleasant Ridge, and will continue to run 24 hours a day as it does today. This should clear up some branch confusion for our customers, as well as provide more frequent service outside of the city of Cincinnati. Route 20. Route 20 is our existing Winton Road local route. It runs from the Tri-County Mall area to Forest Park and then down Winton Road to Northside. It then heads to downtown on Central Parkway before turning around and coming back. Last year, we introduced more frequent service on this route. It used to run about every hour, and it now runs about every 30 minutes. It also runs later into the evening on weekends, and it now runs on Sundays. So prior to last year, Route 20 did not run on Sunday, and that was an improvement that was made. So these improvements are all staying. The proposal for this route is due to the launching of our new Route 67, which will serve the Kemper Road and Northland Boulevard portion that Route 20 serves today. Instead, Route 20, once it gets to the Forest Park Park and Ride on Winton Road, will continue north on Winton to the Cincinnati Mills Mall area and the Mire out there. So this will bring better service to the outlying part of Hamilton County, just on the other side of 275, as well as direct service to a new grocery store and several commercial outlets there, as well as the new whatever redevelopment occurs on the former Cincinnati Mills Mall site. And this next map will show in better detail the extension. So the route will be extended north from Forest Park Park and Ride to the other side of 275, which, if you've ever tried to walk, is treacherous. So this bus service will help people get to places that we know they're already going to by walking from the Forest Park Park and Ride area. And you can see the new Route 67 in blue will take the portion of Route 20 that heads east from Tri-County Mall. And just to show the full change here, you can see on the left, the existing Route 20 and existing alignment of the one trip a day Route 67. And on the right, you can see the new conditions. Route 43. Route 43 is our Reading Road local route. It is our highest ridership route in the Southwest Ohio area, and it is the highest ridership bus route in Ohio that is not in Cleveland. This route has many branches. The Lockland branch, which runs up Reading Road straight from downtown to Reading, the city of Reading, before heading west to Wyoming and Lockland, where it intersects with Route 78 at the end of the line. Additionally, there's the Bond Hill branch, which runs up Reading Road until it reaches Paddock, at which point it goes off Reading Road and serves the Paddock Hills and Bond Hill neighborhoods directly on different streets before ending at Seymour, Reading, and Langdon Farm, where it turns around and heads back in. That is the existing 24-hour branch of this route. Finally, there's the Evendale branch of Route 43, which extends north from the city of Reading into Evendale, and then heads west to Woodlawn, where it ends at Springfield Pike. The Evendale branch does not run on weekends, and the 24-hour service on this route only extends to the Bond Hill, Roselawn area. So our proposal for Route 43 to both simplify it and add more frequency is to simplify the branches. So instead, there will only be 2 branches of Route 43. The first branch is the Evendale Bond Hill branch, which will become the new 24-hour route, 24-hour branch of Route 43. This route will follow the existing Bond Hill branch alignment through the neighborhoods of Paddock Hills and Bond Hill. But instead of ending at Seymour and Reading, it will continue north on Reading Road and instead will end at the intersection of Reading and Glendale Milford Road in Evendale, specifically at the development where the Walmart and Menards is. This will bring new 24-hour service north of Bond Hill into Roselawn, the city of Reading, and Evendale, while still maintaining coverage of the existing Bond Hill branch. The second branch will be the Route 43 Sharonville branch. So this branch will run straight up Reading Road without getting off. It will run north, basically to the county line, to Sharonville Plaza, where it will meet up with our new Route 5. The frequency of this route will remain about the same, and the span of this route will remain the same as well. The main change is that there will be far more frequency north of Bond Hill, and better connections to places that both existing and future bus riders are trying to get to. Route 78. So this is more of a minor alignment change. So because the two branches of the new Route 43 will generally stay along Reading Road, there will be a loss of a connection from Evendale over to Woodlawn on Glendale Milford on the existing Evendale branch. But to cover this, as well as to provide better connections to the Evendale area from Wyoming, Lincoln Heights, and Lockland, the existing Route 78 Lincoln Heights will, instead of ending as it currently does at Springfield Pike, will continue east along Glendale Milford and end at the Walmart stop in Evendale. So that'll help maintain the coverage of our routes, as well as providing fewer transfers for folks originating on Route 78 heading east. And nothing else on Route 78 will change. Routes 15, 16, and 17. So this one is a bit more complex because this is a package deal. These routes generally serve the northwestern part of Hamilton County, from the Northside Transit Center out to Coleraine, as well as Forest Park, Mount Healthy, North College Hill, and the College Hill, Northside, and Winton Hills, and Spring Grove neighborhoods of the city of Cincinnati. So currently, Route 17, which is our second highest ridership route in the system, has 4 branches. All branches run together along Clifton Avenue, up Hamilton Avenue, till they get to North Bend and College Hill, at which point the branches all split off. So the main branch of Route 17 is the Seven Hills branch, which does not get off of Hamilton Avenue and simply goes north-south up to the Seven Hills Center near the edge of Forest Park, close by 275. Another branch, the Northgate branch, runs up Hamilton Avenue to Mount Healthy, where it goes west along Compton to Coleraine Avenue, and then heads north to serve the Northgate Mall area. There's the Mount Healthy branch, which after hitting North Bend at Hamilton, goes west on North Bend, up Simpson, and then east on Galbraith to get back to Hamilton Avenue before ending in Mount Healthy. That is the current 24-hour branch of Route 17. And then finally, there's the Mount Airy branch, which is the shortest branch on Route 17 and heads west from Hamilton on North Bend to Mount Airy, where it ends at Coleraine and Kirby Avenues. So these 4 branches are quite complex. Many of them go fairly far from Hamilton Avenue. And while the frequencies of this route are very good south of North Bend, north of North Bend Road, the frequencies on these branches far less than the stated about every 15 minutes that this route runs. So much less frequent service north of North Bend and College Hill on the existing route. So our proposal is to simplify the branches on this route as we proposed for Route 43. So the proposal is to keep the existing Seven Hills and Mount Healthy branches as is, with more frequency on these branches. And instead, as well as still running the Mount Airy branch deviated to Belmont Avenue during school times to directly serve Aiken High School. So Generally, there will be these two branches, the Mount Healthy and Seven Hills, with some Mount Airy trips. And the Seven Hills and Mount Healthy branches will run more frequently. So as you can see, the Northgate branch is lopped off, and that will be taken instead by the proposed new Route 16. So this just to show you the current versus proposed. So Route 16 currently runs from Government Square to Northside Transit Center via Spring Grove Avenue through Queensgate, Camp Washington, and the West End. It then runs along Spring Grove from the Northside Transit Center to Spring Grove Village, and then up into Winton Terrace, up to Finneytown, north on Daly Avenue, west on Compton to Mount Healthy, and then ending at Hilltop Plaza. So this route runs about every 30 minutes, 7 days a week. So the proposed conditions of Route 16 is to take the Northgate branch of Route 17 from Compton, so creating more of a crosstown service along Compton, directly connecting the folks along this route to the Northgate area, but it will no longer run south of the Northside Transit Center to downtown. This route would run the same frequencies about every 30 minutes, about the same span. The section, and just to see those side by side here, left is current, right is proposed. So to take the service alignment south of Northside Transit Center, Route 15 would be reconfigured. So the current Route 15 is a commuter express route running from Mount Healthy to downtown via Hamilton and some trips on Daly Avenue. And once the route reaches Northside Transit Center, it then runs express to downtown via Spring Grove without making stops. It runs about every 20-25 minutes and only during peak. So the proposed condition of this route is to have it run the 16's current alignment from Northside Transit Center to Government Square, 7 days a week, about every 30 minutes. And so this route would essentially go from a peak-only commuter route to an all-day local route. This will allow us to better manage the branches on the 17, as well as provide more multimodal service to the community. And just to see those together, here's Route 15 on the left, current, and the proposed on the right. And finally, all three of these routes together, current on the left, proposed on the right. Route 24. So Route 24 is an east side, southeastern portion of Hamilton County local route that connects Anderson Town Center, Mount Washington, Mount Lookout, Hyde Park, and parts of Evanston and Walnut Hills to the uptown area, before then heading south through Mount Auburn to Government Square in downtown. So this route runs about every 40 minutes from 5 a.m. to midnight, slightly higher frequency during peak. And it is a little less productive than we would like it to be. Additionally, the portion that is south of the hospital areas, so heading from MLK down through Mount Auburn to downtown, duplicates the existing Route 19, which at the beginning of this summer, we beefed up with additional frequencies to ensure a more steady service throughout the day. So that now duplicates our existing Route 24 alignment, and that portion of the route is fairly unproductive. So the proposed condition, before we get to that, Route 24 is a very long route time-wise. It can take 90 minutes to get from downtown to the Kroger in Anderson Township at the Anderson Town Center. A very long winding route for a one-seat ride. And in fact, our network shows that it's actually 40 minutes faster to get from Anderson to downtown by taking Route 24 to Madison Road and then transferring to an inbound Route 11 to get you there about 40 minutes quicker than just sitting on Route 24 for the entire journey. So our proposal is essentially to turn Route 24 into a crosstown route. This route will run from the same alignment on the east side as it does today. And then once it gets to Madison Road and MLK, it will run to the uptown area, serving the hospitals directly. And the end of the line will be the zoo layover on Vine Street. So this will allow us to run this route more frequently, about every 30 minutes on weekdays. Additionally, the route will still continue to serve Walnut Hills High School during school times. And this will allow for faster connections to downtown via transfers to a variety of other routes. And on the left, the current condition, and on the right, the proposed. So kind of high level view here, we're adding about 7% more service hours than we had before, going from about 700,000 annual revenue hours to 750,000. But with that increase in service, we will serve, and these numbers are all within a quarter-mile walk of a bus stop, which is about a 5 to 8 minute walk, depending on how fast you are. We will be serving 16% more jobs than we were before. An additional 10% of residents in Hamilton County. An additional 9% of the county is African-American population, an additional 6% of households in poverty, and an additional 8% of no vehicle households. So with this 7% increase in service hours, we will be serving better, far more jobs and people and households without vehicles. And just to see kind of why we're making these shifts, lopping branches off, creating new routes, is the high-level frequency map. So on these maps, the red lines indicate routes that have service every 15 minutes or better. The blue route lines are routes that run about every 16 to 30 minutes. And the green is routes that run about every 31 minutes to an hour. So red meaning higher frequency, blue, mid, and green, low frequency. So on the left, you can see the current conditions, a lot of green in the northwestern part of the county, and no local routes actually in the northeastern part. And on the right map, you can see the new routes, Route 5 and 67, that we are adding to the northeastern part of the county, as well as the new Galbraith Crosstown, and far more blue routes in the northwest part of the county. So more frequent service throughout the service area and new routes. And just to kind of drive the point home of the northeastern part of the county not having very much bus service before, the left map shows kind of how many jobs you could reach by transit with a 15-minute walk from your starting location at the downtown Sharonville area. So without these improvements, you can really only walk to the stuff that's within a 15-minute walk of you because there is no transit service there. And on the right, you can see the effect of these changes. So within about an hour's bus ride of the middle of Sharonville, you'll be able to reach 125,000 people and 167,000 jobs. Right. So that is it for me on the fixed route changes, and I will hand it back to Matt, who will go over our mobility on demand and bus rapid transit. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. So when we kicked off Reinventing Metro back in 2020 and 2021, we had a couple of new modes of transportation that we were planning on introducing as part of this plan. So those being mobility on demand, also known as MOD, and also BRT, which is bus rapid transit. So I'm going to talk a little bit about where we are on both of those projects today. So we'll go to the next slide. First, I'll talk about mobility on demand. So basically, what is mobility on demand and why are we introducing it? So mobility on demand is really for some of those places out, not close to downtown that, just can't really support a 40-foot transit bus coming down the street. Maybe the streets are too small, or maybe the demand's just not quite, quite high enough in those areas to run a 40-foot fixed route efficiently. So these are new, smaller vehicles that will be designed to sort of pick up that first mile, last mile connection. Whether that's within a zone or, to connect to the bigger fixed route network. So the picture you see here on the right is just an example of what those vehicles may look like. This is not necessarily the exact type of vehicle, but it's something very similar to this. And it has been branded. It now has a name. So Metro Now. And one of the exciting things about Metro Now is that it's sort of like that. I don't want to use the word Uber, but it's one of those services kind of like Uber where you can request a ride via the app or the call center now, right? You can request it now. It's on demand. It's real time, and we'll give you an estimate of, hey, yeah, we can pick you up in 6 minutes from your location. So again, these are smaller vehicles that are designed to help fill in those pockets where we just don't have the demand, or maybe the street network just can't support your traditional fixed route transit bus. And I do want to point out, I know I mentioned it, but there will be an app involved in this. So you'll be able to request your ride through an app, or you'll be able to schedule your rides through the customer care center as it exists now. So on the next slide, we'll talk a little bit about specifically where those zones are going to be. So through our study that took place over the last year or so, we identified 6 zones where this type of service, makes sense. So as you can see them on the screen, there's another slide here in just a second. I'll kind of blow this up so you can see what the zones are a little bit clearer. But the first 2 zones that we are looking at starting either very late this year or the very early 2023 are the Mount Healthy and the Springdale zones. So why these 2 zones why did we pick these 2 zones first? For the Springdale zone, there was a definite need. There was a lack of connection to healthcare and jobs there that was really sort of having an impact on the community. So we want to definitely start there as part of the pilot, so we can really see how this is going to affect folks, how it's really going to kind of add value to the communities, how it's going to connect to the fixed route network, all of that. The Mount Healthy and Northgate zone is really what we're trying to do here is there's already a fairly strong fixed route presence going straight through there, which is Route 19 on Coleraine Avenue. But as you get further away from Coleraine, there are some places where buses just can't fit and can't go. So we're looking to see how MOD or how mobility on demand really complements our fixed route service, how folks are going to use that to get picked up, away from the main roads and get to the fixed route network. So those are the 2 zones that we are going to start as part of our pilot, which is going to happen again, either very late this year, December of 2022, or maybe early 2023. Currently, we are looking at operating this type of service on weekdays from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. And on weekends from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. And there are 2 different types of MOD service that we are proposing to run. One of those is called full MOD. That's really your door-to-door, curb-to-curb. You can pick me up somewhere in the zone, drop me off somewhere in the zone, or to a fixed route connection. So basically, you can pretty much go anywhere, from anywhere to anywhere within that zone. During the peak times, when we know the demand is going to be higher, and we want to make sure we try to keep those wait times down, right? If the demand is really high and you're requesting a ride now and we can't pick you up for 40 minutes, that's not really what we're trying to go for here. So during peak, when the demand is higher, the system will automatically be configured to say, hey, there's high demand right now. I can pick you up in 10 minutes, but you're going to have to walk a block over to this area, and you may be getting on the MOD vehicle with 2 or 3 other folks, right? It will be shared ride. So we have not figured out, or we have not determined what the fares are going to be for this service just yet. That will be announced in the coming months. And we are also looking at doing other zones. And you want to go to the next slide, Mark? We're looking at doing the other zones late 2023 and into 2024. And these are some of the zones. Again, these are all not set in stone zones. These are just what the study identified as places that had a definite need for the service and where it makes sense to officially run the service. So these may change, or feedback we receive from you. We can always look at other locations as well. But again, we'll be starting with the Mount Healthy Northgate zone and the Springdale Sharonville zone. All right, so I believe the next slide is about bus rapid transit. So what exactly is bus rapid transit? So what is BRT? So if you go to the next slide, So BRT, again, stands for Bus Rapid Transit. That is bus service that operates sort of out of the roadway or separated from traffic when possible, at least a portion of the route. And so that vehicle gets a priority to get to where it's going faster, right? So if you want to think about it as, kind of like a rail system with separated from traffic, it has a little bit of priority, can get places faster, but just on rubber tires. So these will, again, operate at least a portion of their route, separated from traffic. And we'll also have something called a TSP, or a traffic signal priority, where, we'll have some technology implemented to connect with the, traffic light system in the area and say, hey, there's a bus coming. It'll keep that light green just a little bit longer so that the bus can make it through and not get held up in traffic. There's also other ways. If you've been to other cities, you'll see things like queue jumping, where the bus gets to go through the intersection first before the line of cars. Again, this is all designed to speed up transit, to speed up the bus, get you where you're going faster, and get a lot of people there faster. These vehicles will be specially branded. They will look different. They'll have possibly a different color scheme, and their stations will be also not specially branded. They won't all be the same, but they'll look different than our traditional Metro bus stops. There'll be, shelters, other amenities, benches, waiting areas, lighting. There'll be ticket vending machines, which I'll talk about here in just a second. And these will be spaced out further than your traditional bus stops. Some of the local service is great. It's very productive. It gets you downtown pretty fast, but it's making a lot of stops along the way. This service is more designed to be spread out slightly more than our traditional stops and pick you up to get you where you're going much faster. Those stops will be placed near, major trip generators such as residential developments, schools, retail hubs, healthcare, et cetera. And again, I mentioned ticket vending machines, or TVMs. One of the ways to speed up the boarding process is to allow customers to purchase their fare before getting on the vehicle. So you'll be able to purchase your fare at a TVM or some other mechanism at the transit station. And that way, when you get on the bus, no one's trying to pay their fare, standing in line. The bus can load and go. So there are currently 4 corridors. On the next slide, we'll show you what those are. We're currently studying 4 different corridors as possible corridors for implementation of BRT. Those just from west to east are Glenway, Hamilton, Reading, and Montgomery roads. Those are the 4 that, if you compare that to our system network or our system map, those are the 4 highest, most heavily used corridors in terms of ridership and vehicle traffic. So we're looking at these 4, and again, this is a mock-up of what where these stations could be placed. But there'll be different types of stations, right? Maybe towards the outer ends of the line, there'll be a park and ride, so you can park your vehicle. If you live further out into the county, you can park your car at one of the park and rides, hop on the BRT, and get downtown, either downtown or connect to another route much faster than you could on your traditional local service. There'll be some neighborhood stations. So, those might be specifically designed to sort of, match the area or the community that it's within, right? So, they're sort of more personalized to the area. And of course, our business district stops as well, built again near those big trip generators. So where we are right now, on the next slide, we kicked this off earlier this year. Right now, we're still in the study stage or the planning stage, very early in the process. Last month, July 14th, the consultants that we have on board with us, helping us with this project, we all met and we took buses out and actually drove all of these corridors just to kind of get a feel for what these corridors would be like. And then, of course, as part of these meetings with Reinventing Metro Phase 2, we are, trying to get feedback from you all. What do you think about this service? What, where do you think it should go? Any ideas you may have? And then we will sort of get those four corridors that are being studied right now. At the end of the study, we'll have that narrowed down to 2 recommended corridors to move into the next phase, which would be the design phase. I think that's it on BRT. It is. So again, all of the changes that I spoke about, MOD, BRT, Those are coming in the future. And then all of the changes to our fixed route network, which Mark talked about, again, are just proposals, nothing set in stone. Those are proposed to take effect on December 4th, which is a Sunday. So the feedback that we receive from you as part of these outreach meetings, we have a few more, the dates and times listed on our website, of course. All of that feedback that we receive will be summarized and presented to the SORTA Board of Trustees for their consideration. We ask that you log on to our website, www.go-metro.com, and complete the online survey. We personally review every single one of those surveys that we receive back. So please get that feedback to us. And of course, as long as you get it back to us by 11:59 p.m. on August 25th, that feedback will be incorporated into the record as part of these outreach meetings. So if you have any questions right now, we ask that you type them into the Q&A box down at the bottom of your screen if you are using the Zoom link. We ask that you do not use the chat feature. And Mark and I will be happy to answer any questions you have. And again, I want to thank you for your time, spending your time with us today. We appreciate you, and we'll hope to hear back from you soon.